Innovation at Universidad Católica de la Santísima Concepción in Chile. And I have the honor to be guiding this session of the forum called Educational Program in Israel Post-Pandemic Perspective. We have great speaker from Israel today, Professor Aliza from University of Jerusalem, and Professor Arnon from Technion Institute of Technology. To all of you that I have to mention this, that you guys will have the chat to ask questions, whether you want to do it in English or Spanish as you like, it doesn't matter. I will be responsible to read them to our speakers. So, to start with the session, I'm introducing you Professor Aliza Fleischer. Aliza Fleischer is a full professor at the Department of Environmental Economics and Management. I'm sorry, Professor Aliza, if I'm mispronouncing this.
Okay.
JQTL Federman Chair in Hostel Management, Vice Dean for International Affairs, and Head of the International School of Agricultural Science at the Robert Smith Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Environment of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Professor Fleischer received her PhD at the Department of Agricultural Economics, University of Wisconsin-Madison, USA. Her main research interests are the economic valuation of ecosystem services, the economic impact of climate change, rural tourism, and economic analysis and decision-making in tourist markets by applying advanced econometric methods. Thank you for being with us today, Professor Aliza. You have 30 minutes to present. Please come in.
Okay, thank you very much. You've done it very well.
Thank you.
I'll start with my presentation since so I'll start with a very, very short presentation of the Hebrew University, then the Faculty of Agriculture, what's our missions, what do we teach, what do we research, and then I'll go to our international programs, if that's okay. And if you have any questions, we'll answer them later. So very briefly, just very brief information about the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. It was established in 1918, and it has 4 campuses. 3 of them are in Jerusalem. Our campus, the Faculty of Agriculture, is off Jerusalem. It's in Rehovot. It's about 45 minutes from Jerusalem. We have about 24,000 students, almost 1,000 faculty members. We have about over 7,000 patents, based exits, and actually not all of them are exits, but they're all based on the research we've done in the university. We are related to 8 Nobel Prize laureates. You know, one of them is Albert Einstein, who was one of the founders of the university. We have over 180 startups, and we are ranked 150 at the top 150 and the Shanghai ranking. That's the Hebrew University. Within the Hebrew University, we are the Faculty of Agriculture. That's the faculty, the campus that is not located in Jerusalem, not so far, but it's not Jerusalem. And we actually started as experimental station in 1942. And then in 1952, we became part of the Hebrew University. We started with 21 students, but now we have about, I'll give you the data later on. We are the only academic body in Israel that gives degrees in agriculture, and we are the only one who offers degrees in veterinary medicine. So we are unique. We have about 2,400 to 2,300 students, about 22 study programs, and about 100 faculty members. So that's our size, that's our faculty. And our challenges are, that's how we see our challenges in research, in teaching, that's our mission that we see. It's alleviate world hunger and thirst. It's not a small mission. Increase agricultural productivity and do all of this without harming the environment. Sustainable development is very important for us, and we are trying to increase food production and not harm the environment. It's not an easy task, considering that the world population is very quickly reaching 100 billion. It's a great mission. Just a little bit about, since it's the issue is innovation, so I try to find here different things that ideas, patterns, what's our contribution, where is our innovation. So I'm giving you just a taste. It doesn't cover everything. We have here, we actually, we started and I think the pattern on the cherry tomatoes or whatever, the research based on cherry, since I'm an economist, I'm not plant scientist, I'm not sure how to say it, but we, the cherry tomatoes were invented or in our faculty, the tree-color bell peppers, soil solarization, that you cover it and you use the solar energy in order to kill different pesticides and herbicides. We have high quality tomatoes. All of these are done in our faculty based on the research that we do in our faculty. ISUM is our technology transfer center, and I'm giving you here a few exits, okay, or startups that are based on our research. So we have viral-based technology from plant genetic modification. We have this, if you can see it here, this is our Professor Jan van Rijn actually works on growing fish without water. That's how he calls it. But it's a very, very little water, as you can see, that's the trick. We have this, all of these are companies, they're all exits, okay? They're all startups based on our research. All of these are different companies. We have research based on cannabis, different novel methods of production of very high protein chickpea, what we call in Hebrew hummus. And right just last week, we had actually an IPO of an exit of a startup, Savory, where these are two researchers from our department, and what they have, the research that they've done, or the exit or the patent, is they are 3D printing of hamburger. You see, it's vegan. It's not based on meat. It's not meat. It's all based on vegetable material, and those are the hamburgers that they produce, all based on the research on our faculty. So that's a little bit the flavor of our innovation in our faculty. The structure of our faculty is as follows. We have basically 4 institutes: plant science, biochemistry, food science, animal science, and the veterinary school in it, and environmental science. And those are the different departments that sit in our different institutes. So you can see here the structure of our faculty and the different departments that we have in our faculty. You can get everything basically if you go to the internet. We have a very detailed site, so you can get to see all those different programs. Okay, so what do we have here? So that's our faculty very, very briefly. I want to get to the different programs because that's the issue of our meeting today. We have 2 types, and I'll talk basically about Master of Science programs, because the first degree program, undergraduate programs, are all conducted in Hebrew. So it's something that can be relevant to many people from Chile. But all our master's programs are conducted now, starting from last year, in English. So this can be very relevant to people who speak English. Yeah, that's and from what I heard and from what I know, the universities in Chile are excellent universities. So we have 2 different tracks. We can have the 2-year thesis track, and we can have the 1-year non-thesis track. The 2-year thesis track, in order to start as a master's student in this track, first of all, and before everything, you have to find an advisor. You have to find a researcher that works in a lab that is willing to accept you as a student in her or his lab, and to support you and give you some funding. that's the first thing that you have to do. But besides your grades and you have to know English, you have to show proof that you're proficient in English. The most important thing in the 2-year thesis track is to find an advisor. And sometimes it's not easy, okay? And that's why we have the 1-year non-thesis track. And I'll go on and just describe it a little bit more. Now, the 2-year thesis track have all those programs. It's plant sciences in agriculture, field and vegetable crops, horticulture, genetics, breeding, agroecology and plant health, soil and water science, animal and veterinary science, agriculture, biochemistry, food science, environmental economics and management, environmental quality, nature and resources in agriculture. Okay, so these are the programs that if you decide to start a 2-year thesis track from the beginning. If you don't, and if you don't find an advisor, and if you're not sure you want to do research, we have what we call the International School of Agriculture, which I'm heading. And it's part of the faculty, okay? This International School of Agriculture, it's part of our faculty. And we offer non-thesis track master's degree, but if you, during that year, you find an advisor, you go to a lab, you start doing little project, and you can continue to the 2nd year and move to the thesis track. So I hope it's not confusing all this story, but if you need more information, you could always contact me. You can contact people in the faculty. Will give you all the information. So that's our slogan in the International School, our knowledge, your growth. We have many people from different parts of the world coming to our international school, and this is part of it. And you can see Chile is on the map here. So we had students from Chile also in our international school. And it wasn't during my time at the international school, but I asked people, the people, they really like people from Chile, the students, the Chilean students. So what do we have in the non-thesis track, okay? The non-thesis track, it's 12 months non-thesis program. We have every even year, plant science, environmental quality science, that's this year, okay, 2021. We have those 2 programs. It's masters in plant science, environmental science, and every odd year, which was last year, we have masters in animal science and nutrition science. So these are the 4 master's programs that we have, which we offer non-thesis track. And we have a 5th one, which is masters in viticulture and ecology. And I know people in Israel really like the wine from Chile, so this can be very an excellent degree. It's a master's. It takes it's 18 months. Yeah, I think it's about 18 months program. It starts from the blooming of the grapevine until you put the wine in the bottle, and they go through the whole process of growing grapes, making the wine, and all the things. So this is very special program. And also it includes also about 10 days in Bordeaux, France, where it's a workshop where they go visit different wineries. They go there to the university. We have lecturers from different universities around the world coming to this program, so it's a very interesting program. What I want to say that about students who started the non-thesis track, about 80% of them continue to the 2nd year. So we see it as a gate, you know, if a student wants to study at the faculty and cannot find an advisor, he can start the non-thesis track, and while he or she are at the faculty, they go to the lab because they have to do some small project during this 1st year. They go to the lab, they meet the researchers, they work there, and then many of them, about 80% of them, stay and transfer for the 2nd year to the master's thesis track. And some of them continue on to the PhD. That student here in the picture started with the non-thesis track, continued for the second year, and now he's working on his PhD. So this degree opens up many doors for different positions in their own country, and you can see all what we have here. And the other, and we don't just teach, okay, and then we say goodbye to our students. We always keep in touch with our alumni. Some of the students who went back to their own country, we give them seed money to continue for different projects. I'm giving you some example of different projects that our alumni went back to their own village, and this is excellent example here. One of our students went back to her own village in Kenya and actually constructed a water reservoir. It was for her family, but then the whole village came and see how they do it because they had problem with irrigation. And then the all neighboring villages came, and this project turned out to be a huge success. And the money for that small project, we gave it the money. It was part of our, that was part of our program. We also give in the international school different tailored courses for special group. If a group comes and said they're interested to study about irrigation, about water management, we developed the whole program. So this is possible. And just a very, very short clip. You can all hear it. I hope you can hear it.
Yes, we do, Professor Aliza. All good.
Coming to study in the International School of Agricultural Sciences has really been an incredible opportunity for me and one of the best things that I could do for my future.
I'm really happy that I took this decision to come here to learn agriculture, because here we learned from feeling the soil till the most advanced agricultural techniques present till now.
One thing I love most about my own research is that I work directly with the farmers. So I go to their field, I discover the problem, I bring it back to the lab, I study it, I find a way to solve it, I present it to the farmer, they like it, they adopt it, so we go to the field, we try it, we see the outcome, and then we report it in science.
The research is going to help farmers increase the productivity, that is the yield production, because of developing new varieties which are maybe have a lot of roots and they can withstand harsh climate conditions like in drought-based areas. That is talking about where I come from in Kenya.
One of the tools that I've gotten here is really the hands-on experience in the farm, growing my own food under experts who know exactly what they're doing. And that experience has really given me the knowledge on how to produce my own food, farm to table, and sustainable agriculture.
What surprised me really is that you don't have water enough, and how you develop agriculture. It is amazing.
We have managed to interact with people from Jamaica. We are exchanging ideas. People from Jamaica, the USA. I get to know about their culture and they get to learn how we do things, and it's really exchanging a lot of ideas, and it's a wonderful experience.
There is the open door. You can always walk into the professor if you feel like there is something maybe you're not comfortable with. They're always there ready to listen, ready to encourage you.
They solved the smallest problem we had to the biggest problem we had, so it was really helpful, and they were always so welcoming.
The multicultural experience in the school is amazing. You know, you have people from Ecuador, from Germany, from Kenya, from Ethiopia in the same country.
Coming from California, where nutrition really is on the forefront of most people's minds and daily lives, this one-year opportunity was amazing to develop these tools and knowledge. When I found this program at the Hebrew University of all places, which is a world-ranked university, and in Israel, this nutrition program is the best of the best and really chases after the newest information. It was just an amazing opportunity for me. It really ignited a fire and excitement within me and a passion, and I felt this passion throughout the entire year, and I absolutely loved it.
When you're part of the international school, many many doors are open to you. Like you can do a PhD, but you can also work in a company. You can also apply what you learn here. This is an amazing opportunity.
My experience with the international students has been amazing, really above and beyond what I expected. And I'm really looking forward to having more of these students in the lab.
The international program is a meeting place for students from all over the world, some with more experience in agriculture and some with more academic experience. Together with the facilities given in the faculty by our professors in our labs, we work together, each one giving their own spices and ideas to make something together, which is basically to help feed the world.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Aliza. Thank you very much for your presentation. We do have some questions now, so I'm encouraging all the audience to make some questions in the chat. And we do have one already. So from Adrian Palacios, thank you very much for your presentation. The recent COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world. In terms of innovation and food, do you envision major changes in biotechnology that will be important for the food export security chain around the world?
I have to, first I have to, disclosure, I'm an agricultural economist. I'm an economist, I'm not plant scientist, but we do work on the forefront, as you heard, of all the research in bio, food. You saw the example, I give you just a little bit of the example that you heard here about the 3D printing. So of meat, and we go on, and there are lots of things that we're going about it. I don't know how COVID-19 pandemic exactly is going to affect, but what's really going to affect is the increase of the population to 10 billion people. You need to feed them, and the climate change, okay? And doing all of this without harming the environment, that's a big trick.
Okay, thank you. We do have another one. Thank you for your presentation, says Andrea Rodriguez, Professor Andrea Rodriguez. How do you see the effect of pandemic in the e-learning side on graduate program for foreigners? And are you thinking to have students from overseas for the last part of the time?
We do have now. We have students on campus who came during the pandemic. We have a facility where they stay for 2 weeks. We bring them food. And after 2 weeks, we have tests on campus, and if the test negative, they go out. They study as a group, and if it's a small enough group, they even went on a tour. We even went on a study tour. We divided them to small groups, and we were able to take them on a study tour. Most of the courses are given in Zoom, so we are working with it. And hopefully, I see the vaccine, right? We are talking about the vaccine coming here in 2 weeks. Hopefully, it's going to be over. If you look at the stock market, it sees the pandemic is behind us.
Yes, it's been very hard, hasn't it? Okay, we have another one. It's very similar to the previous one. It says, do you plan to implement part of your international courses by online for foreign students? Understood that nothing changes the human and laboratory experience.
We hope that we won't have, because many of our courses, we have labs, we have students working in the labs, they do projects. We hope to have them all not online. Right now, it's all giving online. Right now, for the Israeli students, most of the courses, if not all of them, are online, all giving in Zoom. But we really, really hope that this is our semester ends up in the end of January. I think the end of January is the end of the semester. Hopefully, second semester, mid-March, we are going to be past the pandemic.
Thank you. We are all hoping the same.
Yeah,
Professor Aliza, we do have another question. About your licensed technology, certainly had required the collaboration with private investors as well as public funding. In these regards, the funding provided by the State of Israel are executed mainly through the universities?
It's what we have. We have a technology transfer company, SOOM. Each university in Israel has such a program or a company. We call it a company. I'm not sure if it's the right name for it, but you probably will hear from Arnon, Bentur, the Technion, the Weizmann Institute. Each university had it, and the technology. It's the researchers in the lab work with investors. It all goes through this technology transferred entity, okay? And that's how it works.
Okay. Wow, this one is, according to prior presentation, in Israel currently are 8 universities. How it is possible then that only one university delivers a degree in agricultural science? Yeah, the academic offer is under regulation of the state?
It's we are not a very big country. We are a small country. Other universities don't have degree in agriculture, but they do have they do have plant science departments. Okay, they do have some life science, but we happen to have. There's no need for it anymore. Okay, we are the only one. That's how we started, and that's how it goes. It's not a big country. I think we are a total of 9 million people. And the number of people who work in farming in Israel is very, very small. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, someone is saying here and asking for your email or contact for students, please.
Sure. So I'll put it in chat. They'll be able to see the chat.
Yes.
Okay. So if everybody can see the chat, I'll put my email. You can start with me and I'll forward it to whoever needs it. You can also Google me, Aliza Fleischer. Okay, I'm the only Aliza Fleischer in the world, I think, but definitely the only Aliza in the Faculty of Agriculture. And
thank you. We received the email. So we do have another, and the last question is, do you work with water desalination?
What do you mean if we work with water desalination? We don't.
As part of your degrees, do you have any research?
I have a degree in soil and water sciences, and definitely there they study the whole issue. We also have in our, you can have master's program and doing research on it. Definitely, but it's like we have desalination plants in Israel. That's part of it. The whole issue of water in Israel, water management in Israel is a big issue. There's not one drop of water that it's not managed. And all this water management issue is different issues and different topics that we teach at the faculty. We do research on irrigation, desalination, recycling of water, very big thing, how to do it, what happens if you do it. All of these are different topics that we work on.
Okay, great. Give me a second because everyone is saying that hasn't received the email and are asking again for that.
Google Aliza Fleischer and you will see my site, and there is the email. I'm out there, okay? You can't miss it.
Yes, but I already sent it to everyone.
Yeah.
Do you have a research line on the culture of medicinal plants under low water conditions?
We do have many topics on plants under low water conditions, different things. Cannabis is a big thing now, so we are working on it. I'm not sure exactly what, but the working on under a lack of water conditions, that's our forte. As you can see, we grow fish without water. That's a big trick. Well, with a little water, not no water at all.
Okay, and there's plenty of people saying thank you for your presentation and we'll be in contact with you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Aliza. Thank you very much for your presentation. Great knowledge for us today.
Yeah, I'm still the host, so I can't leave, I guess.
No, you should be okay.
If I leave, I don't disconnect everybody?
No, it should be okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all for your questions. To continue, I will present our next speaker, Professor Arnon Bentur. Arnon Bentur is Professor Emeritus of Civil Engineering and Senior Research Fellow at the Neanan Institute for National Policy Research at the Chile-Israel Institute of Technology. He held senior management positions at the Technion, including Vice President and General Director, Vice President for Research, Dean of the Faculty of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Director of the Samuel Newman Institute for National Policy Research, and I have to breathe, and Head of the National Building Research Institute. Dr. Bentur's field of scientific expertise is construction materials, about which he has published numerous research papers and books, and served as co-editor and member of the editorial board of several international journals and book series. He has been heavily involved in engineering education and has established and runs the Israeli Forum for Engineering Education for the 21st century. Thank you, Professor Arnon, and welcome. You have 30 minutes to present.
Okay, thank you. I will share my presentation, and I'm happy to be here, and thanks for inviting me. Let me start by saying that the issue of engineering education is high on the agenda of many countries in the world. I assume it's also in Chile. Probably people speak about, and this is the case in Israel, about lack of engineers. But if you look at the different reports about the status of engineers, you see that the problem is not lack of engineers, but lack of qualified engineers who can really cope up with the needs in the 21st century. So it's not just an issue of quantity, but issue of quality, and therefore we have started in recent years to look much more seriously and in depth into engineering education, especially we are a country where is a technology industry is really a driver and an important driver for the economy. And if you look, what are the drivers for change for engineering education or engineering profession in our century? And there are essentially two revolutions. The first one is the fourth industrial revolution. The second one is the knowledge revolution. Knowledge is being created at an accelerated rate, exponential rate. And what you learn today may not be adequate in a couple of years, but at the same time, the information, the know-how is being available in many digital forms. The accessibility to it is very high. So this is one characteristic revolution. The other revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, is characterized by interdisciplinarity. A lot of enabling technologies, you could see it here in the scheme. And in addition to that, there is a lot of interaction, much more than in the past, between engineering and society and the economy. You cannot come up with an engineering solution to a problem without considering the societal effect, the economic effect. So the engineer of today, or in the 21st century, has to be much more well-rounded, especially if you want an engineer who can innovate, who can take part in entrepreneurships and in advancing new technologies and employing new technologies. And a well-rounded engineer really needs a variety of disciplines, need variety of qualities. And yeah.
We do have an issue because you are just presenting the first slide. Okay, it changed right now.
Do you see now?
Yes, now I see it. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, so I will not have it on the mode. I changed the mode. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll briefly go over. It's a revolution, two revolutions: industrial revolution, the information revolution, which drives for the 21st century engineering education. You have enabling technologies which are characteristic to the fourth industrial revolution, and the engineers need to be much more interdisciplinary in nature. You have what we call the well-rounded engineer. If you want an engineer who can play in the innovation space, so to speak, so you need a lot of characteristics out of the engineer. And this is really the challenge for the education of the 21st century engineers. Now, what is the difference relative to the past? Issues like having engineers with design thinking and entrepreneurial thinking is not completely new. We needed it also in the past. But in the past, we would consider or take the assumption that those characteristics would be built up after graduation from the university during the internship in the industry. This is changing because of the changing environment, but also if you look at the changes in terms of the age in which you require an engineer to take part in entrepreneurship. On the left-hand side, you could see the data from MIT, survey from MIT, the age of engineer at which time they form a company. In the 40s, it used to be, in the 40s, the age was close to 40. Nowadays, it is a little less than 30s, which means that you have to equip the engineer already in his undergraduate studies with some of these characteristics. We have similar data from the Technion survey of our graduates, what time after the completion of the studies they set up a new company, and you could see that most of them would set up a company during the first 10 years after the completion of the degree. So the entrepreneurial thinking, the design thinking have to be acquired at least to some degree during the studies. So with these challenges, we set up to take action in Israel. We studied the whole arena of engineering education, did some critical studies, and we established a forum for the 21st century engineering education in Israel, which is made up of all the stakeholders involved: the universities, engineering colleges, government agencies, industry, young graduates, and students. So we saw it really as a national issue, not an issue of one university or another, but really something which should be of concern to all the country and to all parties involved. In the discussion, we identified what are the proficiencies, essential skills, and values needed from a modern engineer. We are talking about essential skills, not soft skills. A connotation of soft skills is not a very good one in a technological university, in a technological world. So we have the fundamental academic proficiencies, which include mathematical, scientific, and digital, which is not new. The essential skills are cognitive skills, most important, complex problem solving, critical, creative thinking, system and multidisciplinary thinking, innovation and entrepreneurial, and then personal and interpersonal, which include self-study, teamwork, communication, multicultural, and what is also important, much more perhaps than in the past, is values, reliability and responsibility, ethics and integrity, social responsibility, sustainability, and awareness. So in some degree, we would like to encompass all of that, or at least part of that, or at least to some degree, in the graduating engineers, not just the technical part of engineering, but also the what we call the well-rounded engineering characteristics. What we did in our discussions, we really identified the space of engineering education. It includes the essential skills and knowledge, and we need to reach some kind of balance between knowledge and skills. So there is a tension between the two. There is a tension between, within each of the fields. What are the skills, what are the level of skills you would like or you can achieve in educational engineering? What is the balance, or if you like, the tension between depths of disciplinarity and multidisciplinarity? And how do you combine all of those issues in the educational process, which is made up of bachelor, master, and lifelong learning? And I will address lifelong learning, especially in a minute. All of that have to be done much more than in the past in cooperation with industry. You want to have much higher level of experience, and you can only achieve it by cooperation with the industry. And this really ties in with the essential skills that you want to acquire. Another issue that you need to consider is educational chain. Starting from early age to lifelong learning, what we usually do is pay attention. The central attention is to academic education, but you have to form some kind of understanding and relation between high schools, and the interface between the two is really the screening and acceptance of students. And you have to look into lifelong learning with the understanding that the education is not completed when you finish your degree studies at the universities. This is a knowledge revolution, and it becomes now, or should become, a mission of the university, not just to educate the students to be able to self-study, but also to provide them with support during their professional life, which could extend over 40 or 50 years. You could see that there is a demand for it from industry. And these are the results of a survey done by the World Economic Forum, and among HR managers of international companies. And high on their list was a challenge to invest in reskilling of their current employees. So this is really the need for lifelong learning, which is appreciated by the industry. And here, universities and academy need to be involved. When we looked at the whole scenery, we identified the need for a paradigm shift in 4 main areas: knowledge and skills, the real world and industry, students, and faculty. In the area of knowledge and skill, we have to move away from the notion that knowledge is being the main value acquired in academic studies. You need skills in addition to knowledge. Moving away from the notion that professionals must be of narrow specialization. You need also to have the wider view. And the third one, that in engineering, the core sciences, are needed, but in addition to them, you need the skills to educate the engineer with. The real world and industry, you need to supply the students with real world experience. For example, the notion that there isn't only one solution to a problem or a challenge. The education should not take place only in the classrooms, and here is where you need a cooperation with the industry. We need to develop self-study skills for lifelong learning, and this is again an issue where you need cooperation with industry. Students, we are talking about the Z generation, all new youngsters. The method of teaching should be different because you have to really provide them with the excitement and motivation from their first day at the universities. You have to base the evaluation on students not just on tests, but outputs. If you are looking for educating them to require and acquire skills, and you need also to have new methods for screening of candidates and when you are looking for skills. In terms of faculty, a major shift is being required, a cultural shift from a mindset of a lecturer to a mindset of mentor and coacher. It needs to be accompanied by development and upgrading of the faculty, much more than in the past, not just research. And you need to develop some methods for incorporation of appointments of people from industry to be involved in the education, not just as an adjunct that come and go. What we do in the Technion right now to implement those notions, we have set up 8 working groups in 8 areas which are identified here. And in each of them, we try to develop means and methods to implement in our education system at the Technion and integrate all of the work of these working groups. Each has a different mission. The first one is multidisciplinary activities. The second one looks into core studies. What should be changed? For example, more issues or methods which are looking into social sciences. The third one is the structure of degree programs. It's 4 years now. Should we go to 5 years or 3+2? The pedagogies that need to be implemented if we want to have teaching staff that act as mentors and coaches, cooperation with industry, screening policies, lifelong learning, and incentive to motivate the faculty. And there are several models known that you can go around. One is a 4-year model, a T model, which is taken after Plummer from Stanford, where you have one part which is a breadth of education and another one is a disciplinary education. We used to be much more in the disciplinary. We need to take the breadth. Another alternative, which we call the I model, where the startup for a graduating engineer would be a 5-year master degree, which includes also experience which is gained during the studies, could be internship in the industry or some other methods. All of them are included or combined with lifelong learning. In Israel, at the Technion, we are staying with the 4 years for a variety of reasons that I could explain later on. And what we are doing in order to get the widening of the scope, we are trying to devise a method where a student would have also a minor, and a minor is being made up of a cluster of courses and projects, about 10, 20 credit points out of 160. we can devise a more in-depth educational matrix, which is made up of the proficiencies, foundational, technical, specialization, and professional skills, and the level of achievement in the different stages of studies, the bachelor, master, doctorate if you take, and also look how it is combined with a lifelong learning and experience. Okay. In terms of the role of lecturers, today the role of lecturer is mainly in-person lectures. What should happen in the future, lectures should be online, and the corona really made a big push. And what we should have much more in the future, which is not done today, is coaching, hands-on learning, experiential learning, where the faculty should be much more engaged in it. We are looking into different levels or methods, pedagogies that you can combine. And this is just an example. We did a survey among the Technion staff to find out what they think about the possibility of building up of skills in the regular courses, not have special courses. And we looked into a range of skills, and we found out that many of those skills, the faculty members believe that they could incorporate in regular courses by applying adequate pedagogies, which means there is openness, and the high on the list, which they thought could integrate into regular courses, complex problem solving, creating thinking, critical thinking, personal and interpersonal qualities, skills, self-study, communication, teamwork, and also values, reliability and responsibility, ethics and integrity. So really this is a way to reduce the tension between contents and skills. And in summary, what we need to do and where we are going right now is balance between disciplinary and multidisciplinary, looking into natural life and social sciences. We look at lifelong learning as part of university mission, meaning that the studies is not completed with your degree, and that is done by preparing the student for lifelong learning and development of lifelong learning curriculum. And most important, perhaps, is transition from learning to education, hands-on versus frontal teaching, new pedagogies, which I mentioned, new modes of students' evaluation. Tests are not more adequate for that purpose, changing role of faculty, becoming more coaches and less lecturers, and cooperation with industry, both in terms of experience and in terms of bringing in adjunct faculty members from industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Arnon. Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. We do have some questions. The first one that is coming is, thank you very much for your presentation. What, in your experience, of all that you have mentioned, could be critical ingredients for the future engineers to be able to perform some type of spin-off or a startup as a result of their training? How important it is for each country to define priority areas?
There are some general aspects that you need much more attention on scale. You need to have much more hands-on education during the studies. The assumption is that knowledge could be completed, knowledge is available, knowledge is becoming depleted in some way. So you need the students to be much more able to critically think, and in many ways, this is bringing some strategies that we have in higher degrees education into first degree education. The challenge is how do you do it when the ratio between students and faculty is very high. So you have to find new pedagogies and new ways. Again, what I would like to say is that the Corona crisis is really kind of an advantage, so to speak, because people are becoming much more aware that you need to go for a change. People are becoming much more aware that you can gain knowledge through digital forms. So this is in a way, this crisis is bringing opportunity and much more opening for changes of that kind.
Yeah, I agree with that. Professor Arnon, in this paradigm shift that you have just showed us, the student must do a lot of real work with the industry. Do you have industry partners working with the students while they are doing their degree?
We have some. We think we should have much more. This is a difficult issue. If you want to have a student take internship in the industry, let's say 2-3 months, you need openness from the university itself to provide some credit points. But you need openness from the industry that when it takes a student, it's not just coming to do some menial work, but you really have to appoint a mentor for the student that he is really learning. So he's not just shuffling papers from here to there. So this is one of the issues that we are really trying to find solutions, and this is not easy. So this is a challenge. Another challenge with relation with industry is to have some experts from industry as adjuncts at the Technion or other universities. And again, you need much more openness from the industry management to encourage its people to go and do that. And you need openness from the university to provide these people with some kind of acknowledgement. You cannot pay them much, whatever they earn in the industry is much more. So, give them the credit, the honor, and so on. So that's where you need the two sides really to work on, and these are the challenges.
I know, same issue everywhere. I know what you say. We have another question from Caroline. It says, could the Technion accept a non-engineer for a master program?
Again, I didn't quite understand the question.
If the Technion will accept a non-engineer.
Oh, yeah, sorry, okay.
Program.
Oh, yeah. Depending a lot of areas you have it. For example, if I'm taking it from my faculty in transportation engineering or environmental engineering. So transportation engineering, you would take people who have a degree in psychology. In environmental industry engineering, you would take people that have a degree in science, in chemistry, and so on. So from this point of view, there is no limitation. You need sometimes, depends on the department, that you need to complement some few courses. But in effect, we like to have that because this is really part of making the research much more interdisciplinary.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We do have more questions. Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I agree that the education of engineering is not a problem of numbers, but also quality. How do you work values in the educational engineering? It is something to enforce in some way?
Well, you cannot enforce anything at universities. I assume in Chile it is the same. It's the challenge. It's a cultural change. So you have to convince people that it is necessary to do, and you have to provide them with incentives to do that. And incentives are not just, promotion and so on. But for example, if you need to go into new pedagogies, you need to set up some kind of infrastructure of experts in new pedagogies to help the faculty members. So this is a line that we are trying to get. What we are trying and we have done is identified some 50, 70 faculty members who are very open to that, and are ready to take upon themselves a challenge. So they could be the drivers of the whole change. So through them, you would develop new methodologies, and you would show that you could make the change. But this is a transition. We also are working with a Council of Higher Education in Israel to provide incentives. So, for example, it would be called for proposals for new types of pedagogies, for new types of courses, for new types of models of cooperation between university and industry. And there are several calls for proposals going, and this is not just a financial support, but the acknowledgement, this is important. The council is asking for that, and it drives the faculty members quite effectively.
Okay, thank you. In Chile, women in engineering, the number of women in engineering is very low. How is the case in Israel?
Well, it's at the Technion in undergraduate studies, we are approaching about 30%, which is still not sufficient. There are a lot of programs going, and if you recall the slides that I had of the education chain, where you need to interact with schools. So this is one example, you try to go into schools, you try to develop some extra curriculum activities where you would encourage female students, you would also go to minorities. So this is part of a effort which is being done. But we are not happy with the current situation.
Okay. Is there, the last question that we have here, is there some sort of relationship between faculties of science and engineering at the Technion?
There are relations. This is done mainly through research, through interdisciplinary research centers. So this is working. We don't have it as much, and you don't see it as much in the undergraduate studies. So this is really this challenge. How do you bring this interdisciplinary culture into undergraduate studies? But even in research, it is still a challenge. You still have the silo type of structure that you have to say. But again, the point is, it's obvious that you have to take those steps in research, and actions have been done. What is new here is that you have to look into it much more in undergraduate studies.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, Professor Arnon. Well, we have finished the session with this last question. Thank you all for being with us today. We have gathered great knowledge from our speakers, and the forum continues next Wednesday. Have a great day and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.